Hi, I'm General Correa, and today we're gonna do a beautiful seascape. I'm using Liquitex acrylics. We're using primary blue, deep green, primary red, cadmium yellow, titanium white, and black. So first, I'm laying out a rough sketch of a seascape here with some mountains in the background. It's just a quick sketch to give us a guide as we go along. Using my fan brush, we're going to mix titanium white, blue, and red, and just make sure to add more white to this mix. Then we're gonna apply to the sky using circular strokes, X strokes, or whatever feels right. Don't be afraid. We just need to cover all the spaces in the sky. Just like that. And then we're going to darken the mix by adding more blue and red to get this purplish color for the shadow of the clouds. After that, lightly slide the brush diagonally, just nice and easy, to shape the clouds. And lightly blend it. For this painting, our sunlight is on the right side. So for the highlights on the clouds, I'm adding more titanium white to the mix, and I'll just lightly paint over the clouds, just on the parts where the sun is hitting them. Just like that, just lightly shape the edges of the clouds. Perfect. And then for the distant mountains, let's remember that the further away something is, the lighter and more desaturated it looks. Hazy or bluish in color, especially in landscape paintings. So we're just going to go a little darker than the clouds and add a bit of yellow to achieve that distant mountain look. For this part, I'm using a small flat angle brush. I also want to add more white to the bottom of the mountain and lightly blend it with the first color. This will create a beautiful misty effect. So I'm gonna go darker here for another layer of the mountain. The closer they get, the darker they become. So I'm adding more blue and red along with a little bit of yellow to get the darker shade, just like that. And then for the mountain or rocks, or the big rock closer to the foreground, it has less atmospheric color, so we're going to stick to the real color of the rocks here. We will mix almost all the colors to achieve kind of a brown color, so the mix should have more red and yellow in it. Again, we're gonna shape our mountain here. I'm using my fan brush to create a broad strokes, since this one is bigger than the others. I'm also painting the bottom of the mountain up to the edge of the canvas, because later we're going to add a beautiful reflection of the mountain right here. For the next part, I want my colors to be thick and consistent, so I'm using my palette knife to create different shades for our ocean. For the lightest part, or the eye of the wave, I'm mixing white, blue, a touch of red, and a bit of yellow to get that blue-green teal color. We're also gonna mix in different shades by adding more dark colors from the same colors we did. And remember, when creating different shades of color like these blue-green tones, it's all about how much of each color we use to achieve the lightest and the darkest shades. I hope you get what I mean. So first, we're gonna create the horizon line with our bluish shade color. And for our lightest shade, the teal color, I'm going to paint the eye of the waves. And as we go down, we'll add the darker shades by blending, just nice and easy. until we get back to the darkest shade, which represents the deepest or deeper part of the ocean. Just like that, we just need to cover all the spaces here. Also, by adding white to the bluish shade, we'll make the horizon line lighter and smoother. So for this part, by adding white to the mix, we're creating the foam of the waves. Just lightly blend it to make it smoother, just like that. And remember, from time to time, don't forget to wash your brush while painting, especially when switching from light to dark colors or vice versa. This way, you can avoid messing up the colors and maintain their intensity. And for the foreground, I'm just gonna use the same colors we did to the rocks above. It's okay if it's not a perfect color match. We just need to mirror the mountains above to create the mirror effect. We're gonna also brush in the reflection of the sky here, using the same color, of course, the sky. I'm still using my flat angle brush here. We just need to cover all the spaces, and we're gonna get back here later for details. Going back to the closest big rocks, we're going to add more shadow color to them by creating a sort of shadow hue. You know what I mean? In photography or painting, the shadow parts usually consist of a shade of blue or gray, depending on the vibrancy of the painting or the picture. We'll layer over the first coat, but make sure not to cover it entirely, just in certain areas. We still want parts of the first layer to show through. Also, we're gonna do the same at the bottom. So right now we're working on the darker shadows by mixing red, blue, yellow, and now we're adding black to the mix to achieve the darker shade. And we'll start at the bottom of the rocks, just above the water, and create a beautiful contrast here. This will add more depth to the painting. And we're gonna do the same to the other rocks, just like that. And for the highlights on the rocks, we're mixing titanium white, red, yellow, and a touch of green to tone it down a little bit. Using a very small round brush, I'm shaping the edges of the rocks here. Just imagine that this rock has multiple layers, so there are also multiple edges being illuminated by the sun. Adding more deep shadows here. Perfect. And right now, as you can see, I'm using pure black for the deepest shadows here to achieve the greater contrast and more realistic outcome. Alright, we're getting to the really fun part. This is where the ocean will become more detailed. For the highlights, we're going to use the same colors we used for the sky to paint the crashing waves with a fan brush. We're gonna shape the waves by adding highlights to the top of the water where the sun is hitting, just like that. And we'll also do the same for the foam of the water here. Next, we're gonna add deep shadows to the ocean with a mix of blue and red, plus just a little bit of white to maintain the dark shade. Then we'll define the base of the ocean with line strokes, just like this. It's really fun, isn't it? And using the same color we did for the darkest shadow of the rocks, with more blacks, we're gonna paint more rocks here. These are the small rocks being struck by the waves before they hit the shoreline sand. And for the final layer in the ocean, which will make it more realistic, we're adding pure titanium white to the top edges of the waves here to create beautiful highlights. Yep, this is the really fun part. The ocean is all coming together. Just lightly paint over some parts of the shape of the waves we created. And now, we're gonna add foam lines here in the eye of the waves. Capturing these lines can add a lot of movement and realism to our work. We'll still add more highlights to the foam at the bottom. Just don't cover all of it. This will add more contrast and movement to the sea foam. And using our fan brush, we will create delicate ripples of water along the seashore. These are the fine series of water layers that dissolve as they meet the sand. Next, using the same color we mix for the rocks, I'll be adding shadows to the foam and detailing the foreground. We have to create dark shade here. And again, using line strokes, just create shadows to the foam, just like that. And without cleaning the brush, I'll lighten the color by mixing in white, yellow, and red. Then we will apply this mixture to the dry areas of the sand, which will enhance the details in the foreground. Before we get to the final highlights, I'm going to add some more details to the reflection of the big rocks here. Just like this. I'll also add in a few smaller rocks in the foreground to create more contrast. Finishing it with some highlights, just like that. Using our fan brush, we will add some extra water ripples on the ground to make it look all nice and reflective, like a mirror. Just like that. It's beautiful, right? Just lightly glide the fan brush where the current follows. For the final touch, we're adding highlights to the rocks we haven't done yet. Just mix red, yellow, more white, and a touch of green. Then shape the edge of the rocks towards the sunlight. And lastly, adding a touch of white in some areas will give it polished and finished look. There you have it, we're done. This is the final painting. If you have questions or thoughts about this one, let me know and leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.